What if I told you the moment you felt the most ignored was actually the moment Allah was doing the most for you? Think about that. The nights you cried and nothing changed. The du'as you made and got no answer. The silence you felt that slowly made you question everything. You thought it meant nothing was happening. But what if that silence was not empty? What if, behind that silence, Allah was rearranging your entire life? Because the truth is, Allah doesn't always respond in ways you can see. Sometimes He removes before He gives. Sometimes He delays before He delivers. And sometimes He stays silent while everything is being prepared perfectly. So before you assume that nothing is happening, listen carefully, because what you're going through right now might not be a delay. It might be the moment. Everything is about to change. Silence is not absence. There comes a moment in life when everything goes quiet. No progress, no answers, no signs. You wake up with the same questions and go to sleep with the same heaviness in your chest. You make dua, but nothing seems to move. You try to stay patient, but inside, something starts to shake. And, slowly, a dangerous thought begins to whisper. Maybe nothing is happening. Maybe Allah is not responding. But that thought is where the test truly begins. Because silence does not mean absence. In fact, some of the most powerful things in your life happen in silence. Think about it carefully. When a seed is planted deep into the ground, what do you see? Nothing. Just dirt. Stillness. No movement. But beneath that surface, something incredible is happening. Roots are growing. Strength is forming. Life is preparing to rise. And if you dig it up too early, you destroy it. This is exactly how Allah works in your life. When He decides to change something for you, He does not always show you the process. He doesn't reveal every step. He doesn't explain every delay. Because if He did, you would interfere. You would rush what needs time. You would hold on to what needs to leave. You would question what needs trust. So Allah keeps it hidden, not to ignore you, but to protect what He is preparing for you. You see, we are very quick to judge based on what we can see. If things are moving, we feel hopeful. If things are still, we feel abandoned. But Allah is not limited by your vision. Just because you don't see change doesn't mean change is not happening. Right now, in ways you cannot imagine. Allah is working. He is aligning people. He is removing harm. He is delaying things that are not ready yet. He is protecting you from outcomes you would not survive. And all of this is happening while you feel like nothing is happening. That silence you are experiencing is not empty. It is full of unseen decisions being made in your favor. But here is the part that most people don't understand. Allah's silence is not a rejection. It is a different kind of response. Sometimes, instead of answering your dua immediately, He begins changing everything around you first. He fixes what you cannot see. He prepares what you cannot reach. He strengthens you for what is coming. And until all of that is ready, things remain quiet. This is why some phases of your life feel confusing, because externally, nothing is moving. But internally, everything is shifting. And the real test is this: can you stay calm in that silence? Can you keep trusting when there is no visible proof? Because most people lose at this stage, not because Allah failed them, but because they misunderstood the silence. They walked away just before things were about to change. They gave up just before the door was about to open. They stopped believing just before Allah's plan was about to unfold. And that is why this moment in your life is so critical. Because what feels like nothing right now could actually be the most important phase of your entire journey. So don't rush it. Don't panic. Don't assume the worst. Because silence in the hands of Allah is never empty. It is always filled with purpose. And one day, when everything finally comes together, you will realize that in those quiet moments, Allah was doing more for you than you could ever imagine. Delays are designed. There is something that hurts more than rejection, and that is delay. Rejection gives you an answer. It closes the door. It allows you to move on. But delay keeps you waiting. You keep checking. You keep hoping. You keep making dua again and again, and nothing changes. Days turn into weeks. Weeks turn into months. And slowly, a thought begins to form inside you. Why is this taking so long? What am I doing wrong? Why is everyone else moving forward and I'm still here? And that's where the misunderstanding begins. Because what you see as delay, Allah sees as design. You are looking at time. Allah is looking at timing. And those two are not the same. You want things quickly. Allah wants things correctly. You want it now because you feel ready. But Allah knows what you don't. He knows what's ahead. He knows what's hidden. He knows the full picture you can't see. That opportunity you are chasing may not be stable yet. That person you are waiting for may not be right for you yet. That success you are praying for may destroy you if it comes too early. So Allah delays, not to punish you, not to ignore you, but to protect you from a version of your life that would have broken you. You see, sometimes Allah gives you what you want, but sometimes He fixes what you want first. And that takes time, because real blessings are not rushed. They are built carefully, precisely, perfectly. Think about this. If everything you asked for was given to you instantly, without preparation, without delay, would you be able to handle it? Would you be able to keep it? Or would it slip away because you weren't ready? Allah does not just want to give you something. He wants to give it to you in a way that it stays, that it benefits you, that it brings peace, not chaos. And that requires timing. This is why some doors stay closed longer than expected. Not because they will never open, but because they are not meant to open yet. And here is the deeper truth. While you are waiting, Allah is working on you. He is strengthening your patience. He is deepening your faith. He is teaching you reliance. Because the version of you that will receive that blessing must be stronger than the version of you that asked for it. So the delay is not empty. It is preparation. But the hardest part is this. You don't see the preparation. You only feel the waiting. And that's where people struggle. They compare their timeline with others. They start questioning Allah's plan. They begin to lose hope, slowly. But your journey is not supposed to look like anyone else's. What comes quickly for someone else might not last for them. And what is delayed for you might stay with you forever. So don't rush what Allah is delaying. Because if He wanted to give it to you immediately, He could. Nothing is difficult for Him. The fact that it hasn't happened yet is not weakness. It is wisdom. Perfect wisdom. So, instead of asking, why is it late? Ask yourself, what is Allah preparing me for? Because one day, when it finally arrives, you will not say, this is late. You will say, this came at the perfect time. Allah works behind the scenes. One of the biggest struggles in life is believing in what you cannot see. We are used to results. We trust what is visible. We feel secure when things are clear. But the moment everything becomes uncertain, our faith starts to shake, because nothing around us seems to be changing. No clear signs. No obvious progress. No visible answers. And that's when the mind begins to doubt. If something was really happening, I would see it. But that's the mistake, because Allah does not need to show you His work for His work to be real. Right now, in ways you cannot imagine, Allah is working behind the scenes of your life. He is arranging things you have not reached yet. He is moving people you have not met yet. He is closing paths that would have harmed you. He is opening doors you cannot even see from where you stand. And all of this is happening without any announcement, without any warning, without any visible sign. Because not everything meant for you is meant to be revealed to you immediately. You see, we often think that change should be obvious. We expect clear movement. We look for immediate results. But the most important changes are often invisible at first. Think about how many times in your life something happened suddenly. A door opened out of nowhere. A problem disappeared unexpectedly. A solution came when you least expected it. And you sat there thinking, how did this happen so fast? But it wasn't fast. It was being arranged long before you noticed it. You were just unaware of the process. And that is exactly what is happening right now. Just because you cannot trace the steps does not mean there are no steps. Just because you don't understand the direction does not mean there is no plan. Allah is never inactive, not for a second. Every moment, something is being adjusted. Every moment, something is being aligned. Every moment, something is being protected. Even when you feel stuck, your life is not standing still. It is being guided. But here is the challenge. When you don't see progress, you assume there is no progress. When you don't understand the plan, you assume there is no plan. And that assumption is what breaks people. They give up too early. They lose patience too soon. They stop trusting at the exact moment they should hold on tighter, because they needed visible proof. But real faith does not depend on visible proof. It depends on trust in the unseen. And this is what makes this stage of your life so important, because right now you are being asked to believe, not in what you see, but in who is in control. Allah does not forget. Allah does not miss anything. Allah does not delay without reason. So, if something is not happening in front of you, it may be because something bigger is happening behind you, something you cannot measure, something you cannot control, something you cannot yet understand. And one day, when everything connects, when every piece falls into place, you will realize that what felt like nothing happening was actually everything being prepared perfectly. Your pain has purpose. There is a kind of pain that doesn't just hurt your situation. It hurts your understanding. Nothing makes sense anymore. Things you once relied on disappear. People you trusted walk away. Plans you were certain about fall apart. And you're left standing in the middle of it all, asking, why is this happening to me? What did I do to deserve this? Because from your perspective, it feels like loss. It feels like something is being taken away from you. But what if what you call loss is actually transformation? You see, pain in your life is not random. Allah does not allow you to go through something heavy without a reason behind it. But the reason is not always immediate, and that is what makes it so difficult, because you are feeling something deeply without understanding it clearly. But here is the truth most people don't realize. Allah does not break something in your life unless He intends to build something better in its place. He removes before He replaces. He empties before He fills. He breaks before He rebuilds. And in that breaking phase, you feel like everything is falling apart. But in reality, everything is being rearranged. Think about the moments that changed you the most. They were not easy moments. They were not comfortable experiences. They were painful. They forced you to think differently. They forced you to grow. They forced you to let go of things you never thought you could live without. And, at the time, you hated it. You resisted it. You questioned it. But later, you understood it. And this is exactly how Allah's plan works. He does not always explain the lesson while you are inside the pain, because if He did, it would not test your patience. It would not strengthen your faith. It would not change you. So instead, He lets you feel it fully. He lets you experience the confusion, the heaviness, the silence, not to hurt you, but to shape you, because the person you are becoming cannot be built without pressure, cannot be built without challenge, cannot be built without moments where you feel completely lost. And here is something even deeper. Sometimes the pain is not about what you lost. It's about what you were too attached to. Things that were not meant to stay. People that were not meant to last. Dreams that were not meant to happen in the way you imagined. And if Allah did not remove them, you would hold on to them forever, even if they slowly destroyed your peace. So He takes them away, not because He wants to hurt you, but because He wants to free you. But freedom often feels like loss in the beginning, and that's why you struggle to accept it, because you are looking at what is gone instead of what is coming. But what is coming is always better, even if you cannot see it yet, even if you cannot feel it yet, because Allah does not take something away from you to leave you empty. He takes it away to make space for something more aligned, more peaceful, more meaningful. So the next time you feel pain, don't rush to label it as punishment. Don't assume you are being abandoned. Instead, pause and understand this. There is a purpose behind what you are feeling, even if it is hidden, even if it is not clear right now, because one day, when you look back at this exact moment, you will realize that this pain was not the end of something. It was the beginning of everything changing. Trust even when you don't understand. There is a level of faith that feels comfortable. It's when everything is going right, when your plans are working, when your du'as are being answered quickly. In those moments, trusting Allah feels easy. But that is not where real faith is tested. Real faith begins when nothing makes sense, when the path you believed in suddenly disappears, when the answer you expected never comes, when you stand in the middle of uncertainty with no clear direction. That is where trust becomes real, because now you are not trusting based on results. You are trusting based on belief, and that is much harder. You see, the human mind always wants explanations. We want to know why things are happening. We want to understand the reason behind every delay. We want clarity before we feel calm, but Allah does not always give you clarity first. Sometimes He asks for your trust first. And this is where many people struggle, because when things don't make sense, they begin to question everything. They question their dua, they question their efforts. They even begin to question whether Allah is listening. But the problem is not that Allah is silent. The problem is that you are trying to understand everything before trusting anything. And that's not how faith works. Faith is not built on full understanding. It is built on surrender, on accepting that Allah knows, even when you don't, on believing that He sees, even when you are confused, on trusting that He is guiding, even when the path feels unclear. And this kind of trust is not easy, because it requires you to let go of control. It requires you to stop trying to force outcomes. It requires you to accept that your plan is not always the best plan, and that is uncomfortable, because deep inside, we all want control over our lives. We want things to go the way we imagined. We want timing to match our expectations. We want answers when we ask for them. But Allah's plan does not follow your expectations. It follows His wisdom, and His wisdom sees things you cannot see. There are situations you think are perfect for you, but Allah knows they would break you. There are paths you are desperate to walk, but Allah knows they lead to harm. So He redirects you. not with explanations, but with silence, not with immediate answers, but with delay. And in that moment, you are left with a choice. You can either trust him or you can resist what is happening. Those who resist become frustrated. They feel lost. They feel disconnected. They feel like nothing is working. But those who trust find a different kind of peace, not because everything is clear, but because they know who is in control. And that changes everything. Because when you truly trust Allah, you stop panicking over every delay. You stop overthinking every outcome. You stop fearing every unknown. Not because your life is perfect, but because your belief is strong. And that belief carries you through the uncertainty. It keeps you grounded when everything feels unstable. It gives you patience when everything feels delayed. And most importantly, it keeps your heart calm, even when your life is not. So, understand this clearly. You will not always understand what Allah is doing. There will be moments of confusion. There will be phases where nothing makes sense. And that is not a sign that something is wrong. It is a sign that you are being asked to trust at a deeper level. Because anyone can believe when things are easy, but only a few can trust when everything feels uncertain. And those are the people who witness the most powerful changes in their lives. So don't wait for everything to make sense. Don't delay your trust until you understand the full picture, because by the time you understand everything, the test will already be over. Trust now, in the confusion, in the silence, in the delay, because that is where your faith becomes real, and that is where Allah's plan begins to unfold in ways you never expected. Allah changes everything suddenly. There is a moment in life that no one can predict, a moment where everything shifts, not slowly, not step by step, but suddenly. One day, you are struggling. Nothing is working. Every door feels closed. And then, without warning, something changes. A call comes. An opportunity appears. A situation reverse. A burden lifts. And you sit there, almost confused, thinking, how did this happen so fast? Because, from your perspective, it feels instant. But in reality, it was never instant. It was building, quietly, carefully, perfectly, for a long time. You see, Allah does not always change your life gradually. Sometimes, He prepares everything in silence, and then shifts everything in a single moment. And that moment feels like a miracle. But the truth is, it was a process you were never shown. Think about this deeply. How many times in your life did something happen unexpectedly? Something you never saw coming. A door opened that you didn't even knock on. A problem ended without you solving it. A path appeared when you felt completely lost, and it left you wondering, where did this come from? But it didn't come from nowhere. It came from a plan that was already in motion. A plan that was being arranged behind the scenes, long before you became aware of it. This is how Allah works. He does not always reveal the preparation. He shows you the result. And when the result appears, it feels sudden. But what you call sudden was actually perfectly timed, because if it came earlier, you would not be ready. If it came later, you might lose hope. So it comes exactly when it is meant to come. And that timing is never random. It is precise. It is intentional. It is perfect. But here is where most people struggle. During the waiting phase, they lose patience. They assume nothing will change. They begin to settle for less. They start lowering their expectations because they think, if it hasn't happened yet, maybe it will never happen. And that thought slowly breaks their hope. But what they don't realize is this: they are judging the outcome, while the process is still incomplete. They are deciding the ending before the story has finished, and that is dangerous. Because Allah can change your entire situation in a single moment. One moment. That's all it takes. A single decision, a single opportunity, a single shift. And everything you struggled with for months, or even years, can disappear. Not because it was easy, but because it was prepared. And this is why you must never lose hope, because you don't know how close you are. You don't know what is about to open. You don't know what Allah has already set in motion for you. What if the thing you have been waiting for is already on its way? What if the delay you are frustrated with is just seconds away from ending? What if everything you asked for is already written to happen, and you are standing right at the edge of it, but you can't see it yet? And that's why patience is so important. Because patience is not just about waiting, it is about waiting without losing belief. It is about holding on, even when you have no visible proof. Because the moment you give up might be the moment before everything changes. And that is a loss you cannot afford. So hold on, even if nothing makes sense, even if everything feels stuck, even if your heart feels tired. Because Allah is not limited by your timeline. He can change your life in ways you cannot imagine, in ways you cannot predict, in ways that leave you speechless. And when that moment comes, you will finally understand something powerful. It was never slow. It was never random. It was never forgotten. It was always building towards this exact point, towards this exact change. And when it happens, you will not just feel relief. You will feel certainty. Certainty that Allah was always in control. Certainty that every delay had meaning. Certainty that every moment of silence was leading to this. So don't measure your life by what you see today, because what you see today is only a small part of a much bigger plan, a plan that can unfold in a single moment. A moment that changes everything. A moment that makes you realize that Allah was never late. He was always right on time. And when He decides, nothing can stop what is meant for you. Nothing can delay it further. Nothing can block it. Because when Allah says be, it becomes. And that is how your story changes. Not slowly, not gradually, but suddenly, in a way that proves that what you thought was the end was actually the beginning of everything. What's coming is bigger than you think. There is something about waiting that slowly wears you down. Not all at once, not in a dramatic way, but little by little. At first, you are hopeful. You make dua with certainty. You believe something good is coming. Then time passes. Nothing changes, and that strong belief you once had starts to weaken, not because you want to lose faith, but because you are tired of expecting and seeing nothing happen. And eventually, you reach a point where you stop asking for big things. You lower your expectations. You tell yourself, maybe this is just how life is. Maybe this is all I'm meant to have. And without realizing it, you shrink your hope. But here is the truth you need to understand. If Allah is making you wait, it is never for something small. Allah does not delay something insignificant. He delays what is meant to arrive with impact. He delays what requires perfect timing. He delays what is bigger than your current understanding. Because what is coming into your life is not just a simple change. It is something that will shift your direction, something that will reshape your future, something that will make you look back at every moment of patience and realize it was worth it. But the problem is this: while Allah is preparing something big, you are judging your life based on what you see right now. And right now, it feels small. It feels stuck. It feels like nothing is improving. And that contrast makes it hard to believe that anything significant is coming. But what you don't see is what Allah is building, because big changes are never created in a rush. They are built layer by layer, quietly, carefully, with precision. Allah is not just preparing what you asked for. He is preparing you for what you asked for. And that requires time, because the version of you that will receive that blessing must be different from the version of you that is asking for it. Stronger, more patient, more aware, more connected. And that transformation does not happen overnight. It happens through the very phases you are struggling with right now. Through the waiting, through the confusion, through the silence. Every moment that feels heavy is shaping you. Every delay that frustrates you is building something inside you. And even though it feels like you are losing time, you are actually being prepared. Prepared for something that will not just come and go, but something that will stay, something that will matter, something that will elevate you in ways you cannot even imagine yet. And this is why you must be careful not to lose hope in this phase. Because when people wait too long, they don't just lose patience. They lose vision. They stop believing in big outcomes. They settle for less. They accept situations that are not meant for them. Not because that is their destiny, but because they became tired of waiting for something better. And that is where many people go wrong. They interrupt Allah's plan by giving up too early. They walk away from what was written for them because they thought it would never come. But what if it was already close? What if everything you have been waiting for is not far away, but just beyond your current moment? What if the delay is not a sign of distance, but a sign of preparation? Because Allah does not forget what you asked for. Every dua you made, every tear you held back, every moment you stayed patient, it is all recorded. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is ignored. And when the time comes, Allah does not give you a small response. He gives you something that reflects everything you went through, something that carries meaning, something that carries reward, something that carries peace. And when it arrives, you will not just feel happiness. You will feel clarity. You will understand why things didn't work before. You will understand why certain people left. You will understand why certain doors stayed closed. Because if they had opened, you would not be where you are meant to be. And suddenly, everything will make sense. Not piece by piece, but all at once. And in that moment, you will realize something powerful. Allah was not just giving you what you wanted. He was giving you something better. Better than your plans. Better than your expectations. Better than what you thought was possible. But to receive something better, you had to go through something harder. You had to wait longer. You had to trust deeper. And now, you are ready. So don't let this phase break you. Don't let the silence convince you that nothing is coming. Because what's coming is bigger than you think. Bigger than your current situation. Bigger than your current understanding. Bigger than your current expectations. And when it finally reaches you, you will not say, "This is what I asked for." You will say, "This is more than I ever imagined." And in that moment, every second of waiting will make sense. Every moment of doubt will fade. Every piece of pain will find its meaning. Because Allah does not just fulfill your dua, He exceeds it in ways that prove that what He had written for you was always greater than what you were hoping for. So the next time you feel like nothing is happening, pause for a moment. Don't rush to panic. Don't rush to lose hope, because what you see is only a small part of what Allah is doing. Behind the silence, there is movement. Behind the delay, there is preparation. Behind your pain, there is purpose. And one day, everything will come together in a way you could never have planned. You will look back at this exact phase, this confusion, this waiting, and you will realize nothing was ever wasted. Not your tears, not your patience, not even your doubts. It was all leading you to something greater. So hold on, trust a little longer, be patient a little more, because when Allah decides, everything can change in a single moment. And when it does, you will finally understand that He was never silent. He was always working,